start outdoor walk.
We know our wearables can track our runs, rides and hikes, but how reliable are they, really, when it comes to tracking our health metrics?
Which wearable is best, a Garmin, an Apple Watch or a Ring? Well, in my view, it depends entirely on how you're going to use it. And I'll give you my conclusions right at the start of this video, then go back, explain the testing I've done and how I have reached that conclusion. If you're thinking of one of these, here's how I see them most useful. If you don't want to wear a smartwatch, but you'd like to keep track of health metrics, and you aren't too serious about sharing runs, rides, and workouts on platforms like Strava, then I like the RingConn. If you are in the Apple ecosystem, like tech integration, and perhaps use the Apple Health or Fitness app, then the Apple Watch is the way to go. It'll track your workouts, but the data displayed at the time is slightly limited. If you ride, run or hike more seriously, especially off-road, on trails and in mountains, and you want a lot of data on your wrist for activities or health, then the Garmin Fenix tops my list. It'll also track health metrics. For complete transparency, I bought everything in the video except the RingConn, which was given to me to test. How my relationship is independent of any manufacturer is explained in the compliance page of my website, and that is linked from every video description.
Oh yeah, and why use the RingConn rather than the, well, arguably better known in the UK Oura Ring? It's because the RingConn doesn't require a monthly subscription to keep working. You just pay when you buy it, and that's it. All of these devices measure just two things, blood flow and movement, and seem to do so with different levels of accuracy.
All of these devices use a technique called PPG, which shines a light into the skin and can measure the absorption in the blood, and that way record the amount of blood flow, the heart rate, and the blood oxygen saturation. In the case of the devices like this, it is reflective PPG in that the light and the sensor are on the same thing, so it's what bounces back and into it. The more medical grade devices like the finger blood oxygen saturation measure, they tend to use an absorption method whereby you have the light on one side and the sensor on the other, so you're seeing exactly how much light is absorbed by the blood as it passes through. Tiny accelerometers built into these things record movement in all three directions. And that and the PPG are really the only things that are actually measured. Their secret proprietary algorithms then combine that data and interpret it in different ways to produce all those metrics we've seen, reliable or otherwise.
The Garmin and Apple Watches have GPS built in. The second generation of RingConn still relies on you having your phone and uses its GPS to track your workout. All the other stuff, including temperature and air pressure, I'm not reviewing as there is so much variation between devices.
I have been sleeping and hiking with all three simultaneously for a few weeks now. And frankly, I'm not that impressed, especially with their health monitoring metrics, but it is difficult to know which one, if any, is correct. However, the absolute numbers they produce might not matter that much, provided you stick to one data source. It's like an uncalibrated power meter on a bike. You can successfully ride to its numbers. The problems come when you cross-compare between different devices, whose different algorithms are interpreting the data in different ways. Now, the clearest way to see this, for me, is looking at the sleep data.
On the same night, Garmin thought I'd slept for only 5.5 hours, Apple detected 20 minutes more, RingConn a full hour longer. Their analyses of REM sleep was equally different, deep sleep and awake times also well out. It's just one night's data, but indicative of many I have recorded, and not representative of how I actually felt. And I can't explain how the accelerometers think I'm inactive when I'm in the kitchen, washing up or cooking. I've been busy doing this and the Garmin has told me I needed to move. I'm increasingly doubtful about their accelerometers. Then I turned to another nighttime metric, heart rate variability.
And the higher the variability, the healthier the heart. But of course that relies on the PPG working correctly, that the heart rate is being accurately recorded to measure those small differences between the beats.
This is how my HRV was recorded over 4 nights. As you can see, night to night there's little change, but the RingConn must be measuring in an entirely different way for it to consistently produce such a bigger number. And HRV in turn contributes to the stress score. In this study from the Netherlands, 800 smartwatch users compared the watch stress score with how they were feeling and found little correlation, leading the authors to conclude when wearables reported that their owners were experiencing stress, the owners themselves rarely reported feeling stressed.
The report authors suggest it's because the stress level is inferred from heart rate and variability. Without knowing the context, the person could be afraid, excited, even sexually aroused. So again, it comes back to overinterpreting the very limited data that the wearable is actually capturing, and how well it is even doing that. It might work for the majority of people, but that's not everyone.
Summarizing so far, I didn't trust the accelerometers that measure movement nor the overinterpretation of overnight data. Time to test the wrist and finger heart rate sensors on something bigger. Wearing the Apple, Garmin and second generation RingConn, I tackled a local hill. I also wore a heart rate strap, as this provides an accurate baseline using a form of electrocardiography. On this first hill, I kept my heart rate in zone 2, and after smoothing was applied, all the traces were similar. Here's the accurate one, and the wrist-based Garmin was almost identical. The Apple bounced around a bit more, but again it was close. The second generation RingConn data can't be exported for comparison. But on a different walk, I noticed I was getting different readings when my heart rate was higher. So I found a steep hill and did a few faster sections to deliberately raise my heart rate. It's at these elevated points that I found the wrist-based sensors start to struggle.
To test that PPG, I just did a few little fast sections uphill, and the strap had my heart rate going into the 140s. When I looked at the Apple, it was in the 140s. When I first looked at the Garmin, it was down in the 120s. But as I looked at it longer, it came back up to the 140s. So I wonder if it does record it, but with a lag. I wonder if it just takes time for the blood to get down there. That's why I think the chest rate strap is always better. But there again, the other arm's the same distance, so that doesn't make sense.
It is very confusing and remains so even after more testing. But if I want an accurate measure, I'll still use a heart rate strap. The wrist-based reflective PPG is not, in my view, completely reliable. I'll consider any data it produces to be indicative rather than definitive, whether that's at night or on the hill. Incidentally, a massive thank you to these people who are members of the production and adventure crews of my channel. If you'd like to support me and become a member, click the join button below this or any other video. Thank you. The more data a device claims to capture, the harder it is to display it all clearly. As the simplest of the bunch, I actually prefer the Gen 2 RingConn for health data.
Its display is built around this 4-leaf clover, where at a glance you can see your sleep, your vitals, activity level and relaxation status against optimal. It's a great graphic, although you can't customize the display. Scroll down and you can dig into all the other stuff.
All the other stuff that is in the clover design. But here's a great example of why I trust none of this fully. RingConn says I had an excellent sleep last night, and I do feel great. Garmin says it was long enough but poor quality. I think they disagree about how much I moved around.
This is for someone who does not want to be overwhelmed by a choice of data sources, who doesn't want to share every dog walk or commute on Strava, and just wants to keep an eye on their overall metrics. Understanding that there is a level of imprecision and only digging into it in more detail if something looks off. And RingConn does give an alert if something is out of range.
And I got one for sleep apnea, a type of breathing disruption linked to snoring. It's something I've been wondering about and why I've been experimenting with mouth taping. The Gen 2 device claims accuracy of more than 90%. It's the only Ring to offer this, so this is a valuable insight for me.
Apple is, of course, good at user interfaces, and Apple Health is a fine example of this. The Vitals chart is its version of RingConn's four-leaf clover, but not quite so instantly clear. Its strength is that it can suck in data from RingConn, from Garmin, just about any wearable, and feed it into what is a very good display. That sheer volume could be overwhelming because you can take in weight, blood pressure, ECG readings and more from other devices. So it's important that you can customize it and prioritize the metrics you want to see. There are two ways Garmin displays data: on the watch itself as part of a morning report and now evening report, and also in the app, which you can customize. On the watch, the morning and evening reports are clear and can be dug into further. On the app, it's pretty clear, but not as clear as the other two in my view, and I realize it's a personal judgment. Is this because of the design or because Garmin has so much data to share? Probably a bit of both. And it does have an excellent at-a-glance feature, which can be customized. When I have been wearing all three, I find I look at the Garmin morning report first, and then the RingConn, because both are easy to understand at a glance. And then if I want more detail, I'll dig back into the Garmin app.
Day to day, there's one big problem with one of these devices. Everyone knows it. Apple is sorely let down by its battery life.
If you want to record data while you sleep, you have to be wearing it. So charging has to take place sometime between coming home from work and going to bed. For me, it ruled out the Apple as a day-to-day health tracker and sports watch. And I just noticed it's the one that I stopped wearing first. And that is why I bought the Fenix 8 when Garmin had a sale. Even using the GPS, I can get a week from the battery, although I bought the solar version that does not have the AMOLED screen because it uses more power. The RingConn has roughly a 7-day battery and charges quite quickly. So there's none of the stress of the Apple, and it's very convenient. You kind of forget you've got it on.
These really are three horses for three different courses. Their data is not cross-transferable because their algorithms are so different. You need to pick one and stick to it. Even the GPS is not consistent between the Apple and Garmin, and between the two Garmins. All the health data I received from any of these I would treat only as a guide, not gospel.
Finally, I would always use a heart rate strap and not rely on the wrist PPG sensor for accuracy when doing any heart rate-based training sessions. If you have got this far, thank you. Please give me a thumbs up, and it would be brilliant if you could click this and watch this video next. I will see you again next time. Goodbye.